Today we're going to look at a number of features of Gmail that raise concerning privacy issues. Specifically, we're going to look at how a seemingly innocuous feature called Autosave is causing users to unknowingly, and in many cases undesirably, send private information over the internet for storage on Google's servers. Then we're going to look at how another seemingly innocent feature of Chrome, the new Google browser, is actually reducing the privacy of Gmail users. Finally, we're going to see how Google uses these so-called innocent features to its own profit. On the left side of the screen you can see I'm logged into Gmail with a new account I just created for this demo. On the right side I have a piece of software called a packet sniffer that reads or sniffs all information being sent from my browser to the web. I'm going to start by composing a private letter that contains some secrets. One of the nice features of Gmail is something called Autosave, which keeps me from losing my work by periodically saving drafts. That way, if my computer crashes before I send my email, I can recover the draft. Microsoft Word has had this feature for years, as do many other desktop programs. What's fundamentally different about Gmail is where Gmail stores those drafts. In traditional desktop software, those temporary files are stored on your hard drive and get erased periodically. Not so with Gmail. With Gmail, your drafts are sent across the internet to Google where they are saved and backed up. Moreover, you have virtually no control over how this function works. Looking in the packet sniffer, we see my partial email has already been transmitted up to Google. I never pressed the send button. I never intended to send this email in the first place. Moreover, because Gmail's default mode is plain text rather than SSL, this message was sent so that anyone between me and Google can read my secrets. So imagine if I'm at work applying for a job. The network administrator of my company can read this draft before I even sent it. While this is not inherently problematic, the autosave feature is one more way in which you and I are slowly losing control over how we communicate over the internet. In this next example, we'll look at Chrome shortcuts. Google's new Chrome browser allows you to place shortcuts on your desktop that take you directly to web pages. The purpose of shortcuts are to blur the distinction between web-based applications like Gmail and desktop applications like Microsoft Outlook. The problem is that in doing so, Google actually lessens your privacy and reduces your control. Here I'm opening up my Gmail account using the shortcut I created. When you do this, Chrome opens up the so-called browser with all the navigation options turned off. The intended effect is to make it seem like it's just another window on your desktop. But once I'm in this mode, there's no way to switch to secure mode. There's no way to see if I've been redirected or phished or inspect the website's certificates. In fact, all remnants of traditional browser functionality are gone. Again, this is by design. Google wants you to forget that you're sending all your data to their servers, and although that makes you less secure and gives you less control, ultimately it's good for Google. Here's why. At the end of the day, Google makes money through advertising. It is in their interest to blur the distinction between your desktop and the web. They want you to forget that every time you interact with Google, that information gets stored on their servers, and they profit from that information via advertising. So when you write a private email using Gmail, it's important to understand that you are having a three-way conversation between you, your friend, and Google. In this example, I'm going to send an email to myself talking about a new Sony laptop using a Gmail account I created for this demo. The first thing to notice is that as soon as I send that email, Google knows I'm writing about laptops when it reads my email, so it creates an ad for another laptop, the Levano notebook. When I go to read that email, they show more ads based on that email. Again, Google is actively reading my private conversation and storing this information on their servers. This is really no different than if AT&T listened on my phone call and started whispering, "Buy a Dell laptop. Dell laptops are the best." In the past, when I've used Hotmail, Yahoo Mail, or even Gmail, there's really no question I'm on a website. All the cues are there. I can see the URL, I can see pages loading, I'm navigating using the same old browser I surf CNN or Comedy Central with. Everything looks the same. But when you launch Gmail in Chrome, it doesn't look like a website at all. It looks like a desktop application. So it's not unreasonable to assume that it's behaving like a desktop application. Erase the hard drive and you erase all your data, right? Wrong. Sending private love letters to your boss's wife? Your email is going over his local area network unencrypted for anyone to read, while Google tries to sell you a silver necklace for your lover, or an Armenian bride in case it doesn't work out between you two. So the next time you send a so-called confidential email using Gmail, think about it. And that's not all. It gets worse. One of the more troubling privacy aspects around the fact that Google reads your email is not from the point of view of the Gmail user, but from the point of view of their friends. After all, a Gmail user has opted in to allow Google to read their email, but what about their friends? In this example, Bob is a Gmail user, but Alice is not. Bob and Alice recently were reacquainted and started emailing each other. Alice is a pretty private person and doesn't want anyone reading her email. But Bob forgot that by signing up for Gmail, he agreed to let Google spy on his messages so they can decide what ads to show him. But what about Alice, her private friend? She never agreed to anything. She never accepted Google's terms and conditions. She is sending Bob her most private thoughts, trusting he is the only one who will read them. But Google opens every email Alice sends him and uses it to decide what ads to show Bob. Alice doesn't want anyone to interpret her messages and advertise to Bob based on what Google thinks she is writing about. She never said Google could look at her email at all. If Google is going to make reading Gmail subscribers' email a default for advertising, then they should only spy on emails in which both the sender and recipient are using Gmail and have both agreed to Google's terms. Go to consumerwatchdog.org/Google to send Google a free message asking the company to protect our privacy.